On the agenda tonight, we're going back to the 1940s. We're going to be taking a look at the Jubilees, and they're going to be performing Noah. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So, I don't get a lot of requests to look at rapping, but this is one with a difference because it's arguably the first example of that style of music, and rapping being something very new in the 1940s. Noah by the Jubilees was released in 1946, so I'm not sure exactly when this performance was, but it may well have been to accompany the release of the song back then. But let's get the guys up on screen and see how they get on.
Well, it's over and over, oh no, oh no, I got to go to ride on the women's side, but it's over and over, oh no, oh no, I got to go to ride on the women's side. Brother Noah, my God's talking, said he would ride on the wind and tide. Hey, children, stop still and listen to me. God walked down to the brandy sea. He declared that the aim was the sent for man, and then he decided to destroy the land. He spoke to Noah. Noah stopped. He said, Noah, I want you to build me an ark. I want you to build it 3 cubits long. I want you to build it big and strong. I want it 50 high and 50 wide, so it will stand the wind and tide. It's oh Noah, oh Noah. Oh no, I got to go to ride on the wind tide, but it's a oh no, oh no, oh no, I got to go to ride on the wind tide. Got to go to ride on the wind tide. Got to go to ride on the wind tide. Oh Noah, brother Noah, my God's talking, said he would ride on the wind and tide. Well, after the foundation was laid, then Noah began to hew and build. The ringing of the hammer cried judgment, the hewing of the saw cried sin repent. 100 years he hammered and sawed, building the ark by the grace of God. When the ark was done, God's voice was heard. He said, now Noah, let me tell you what to do. Calling the animals 2 by 2, so he called them in the ark 2 by 2. He called the birds, the ox with the kangaroo, then he called and Japheth, the ham and Sham. Then God began to flood the land. He raised his hands to heaven on high, shook the stars and moon from the sky, shook the mountain, he troubled the sea, hit the wind to his chariot the wheel. He stepped on land, stood on the shore, and declared that time there wouldn't be no more. But it's oh Noah, oh Noah, oh Noah, I got to go to ride on the winning tide.
And there we have it. So, I mean, a short video for tonight, but again, it's another example of back in the 30s and the 40s having just a collection of great singers that are harmonizing with each other, and we've got so many different ranges going on here with a really impressive bass range going throughout. But the way that we've got that bass, and then I mean, we don't quite get into what I'd consider proper male tenor range, but we've got baritone range in there, a little bit of high bari, and yeah, when we're covering, I mean, so many notes, we're getting the notes of the chord, and that's why it just sounds great, because they're so accurate independently. But then talking about the rapping over the top, and I love the fact that this is about the Bible, because nowadays the topics chosen for rapping are quite different, I would suggest. But I mean, it's rapping in a really musical sense because we've got pitch throughout. It means that when we get into those sections that would now be referred to as rapping, it's more talking, but we're talking on pitch here. There's always a particular note that's being held, and that note is obviously relevant to the backing harmonies going on that are supplying a lot of the backing. We do have a very light guitar going on there and a little intro on the guitar as well. I have isolated the vocals, so we'll have a listen to those in a second, but I just want to listen to this little guitar intro because, you know, it's really understated, but it's really cool and a nice start to the song. And this isn't going to be an instructional video, as I always say, but we've kind of got this pick through the chord, and by the way, this is going to be a B flat here, A sharp, and then a little chord at the top, and then into the 7th, and then I think we're down to the F. This is in F, by the way. And you can hear that either we're tuned a semitone higher or using a capo on the 1st fret, because we've got this chord which would have been played in, you know, that E shape down at the bottom. But anyway, just so you can see what I'm talking about, because it's probably good that you can see my fretboard, when we're playing an F here, when we make this, you can actually hear that happen just in the background, the strings ringing out ever so slightly that do tell us that it's a semitone higher tuning wise. And if that's being played down at the bottom, what's happening is he's leaving that position, and you can just hear it happen, and he's then doing his little run up, but he's had to leave the chord in order to go higher up the guitar. But anyway, yeah, we're not going to be focusing on guitar, we're going to be focusing on the singing. So let's get rid of the accompaniment and listen to the vocals.
Well, it's over and over,
And basically what we've got here with the bass, when we're playing the F, actually we've kind of got our, you know, root note here, or that's going to be the octave of where the bass is, but then we've got our major 3rd, and we have that bass all the way down here. And let me get up on screen, actually I'll make it split screen again so that we can see the guys a bit more clearly, and get the piano up on screen so that we can reference the notes going on here. And the E2 right at the bottom here, bottom end of the bass range, and we've got the F2. That's the note that we've got going on here, and then the octave above that obviously be the F3 and the A as well, so that'll be the A3. And if you want those notes on the piano, we've got the A, which is here, and when we're going, you know, up an octave from the F, we had the F here, which would be the F3, and the F2, which would just be down here. But anyway, we've got that difference of an octave between voices, which is great, especially when you get a great bass singer, as we've got here, and it's George McFadden, I do believe, on bass. So we get a really full sound, and when we then break off into the rapping, it means that we have that solid layer, but we just get a really nice full sound, you know, of that F chord effectively, while and you know, it's being produced by voices here. So just great vocal talent. And even though it is, you know, arguably the earliest form of rapping that you're going to see, especially recorded and televised, it's still got all of these musical elements in there. And let's just have a listen on.
I'm going to ride on the women's side, but it's a on over. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm going to ride on the women's side.
And just listen to the groove that we've got. We've got kind of got this, you know, there's a nice kind of bounce in there. So it's not only providing great harmonies, hitting their notes just spot on, blending their voices so well, but we've got a groove in the sound. And I mean, that's typically something that you would get from the instrumentation, from the guitar, and from any drums that might be playing, but this is accompanied just by a guitar. So all of this groove and feel is produced with their voices. So it's great because they all do it in unison so that you get this groove really clearly, but it's being produced vocally.
George Cogan said he would ride on the wind and tide. Hey, children, stop, still, and listen to me. God walked down to the brandy sea. He declared that he was the son of man, and then he decided to destroy the land.
And just listen to that. It's hitting every single point of that groove that literally I just played that on the guitar, and now we've got it replicated vocally. So it's great because, you know, if you're listening to the note there, we've got that octave of the F, you know, so we'll sometimes go down to, you know, a fifth, but this is the point that we've got all of these notes being hit rhythmically, and we've still got that melody in there. So this isn't rapping just talking and not being conscious of melody. We've got rapping with melody here, which is again a lot more difficult to do, to maintain pitch and keep that groove in there faultlessly throughout the whole performance.
He spoke to Noah. Noah stopped. He said, Noah, I want you to build me an ark.
And there, I mean, it's really subtle, but we have Noah. He did go up an octave there. So he is being very mindful of pitch, but because it's so natural, you just get, you know, the opportunity to focus on the lyrical content because he's delivering it so well melodically. And I'm sure that back in the 1930s and 1940s, these guys started in 1935, I'm sure back then if you were to just rap with no relevance to other singers and the backing, then people wouldn't really listen to it, probably, because it has to be musical. And when we're talking about these times, you know, jazz is what it was all about. So although it's a totally different sound and we've effectively got rapping over the top of these vocals, it's really cleverly done because everybody at the time who would be used to hearing great groups and great vocal groups harmonizing with each other, we have that here, but then we have this addition of effectively a talking voice but on pitch.
I want you to build a 3 cubit long. I want you to build it big and strong. I want it 20 high and 50 wide so it will stand the wind and tide. It's full over.
And just have a look at the choreography as well. I love the way that they then split away, and when we do have this rapping section, that is then the focus, and when it's back to the harmony vocals, we're then back into this group rather than having one person out the front. So all of this choreography is great because it gives you a visual focus as well as being able to listen to the vocal of the person who is the focus at the front of the stage.
Oh, oh no. Oh no, I got to go to ride on the wind tide, but it's a oh no.
I mean, it's great. I love listening in to that bass being way down there. You know, you can't beat a great bass, you know, in a vocal group, just adding so much depth and body to the sound, and obviously giving them the foundation for that octave above, you know. Na, na. So I was actually going up there 2 octaves there, but yeah, na, which will be, I think that's probably around the highest that we go here. So when we're looking at our ranges, I said we're not really getting up towards the top end of the male tenor range, but the F, which will be here, the F4, you can see top end of the baritone range. So yeah, that's, I mean, it's great that we've got that mix of voices and we get so low because then you don't really need to go that high to then have 2 octaves higher. It's just the F4. So yeah, great bass going on here.
Oh, oh no, oh, oh no, I'm not going to ride on the wind tide.
Another thing just here, we've got, I think this is John Jennings. It's quite difficult to find the singers and the name of the singers from back in the 1940s because they did change a couple of members as well. But here we've got this constant vibrato going the whole time, even just with this hum. So we get this little lead in to the vocal, and this is now more of a high Barry vocal. You'll be able to hear the quality of the voice, that it's definitely not down in that bass range. And by the way, we've got Ted Brooks, I believe, who's doing the rapping. But we'll get back into this and have a listen to this slightly higher range now. And there we had that Noah going up to that F4 that I mentioned.
God told you that he would ride on the wind and tide. Well, after the foundation was laid, then Noah began to hew and build. The ringing of the hammer cried judgment, the hewing of the saw cried sin and repent. 100 years he hammered and sawed, building the ark by the grace of God. Now when the ark was done, God's voice was heard. He said, now Noah, let me tell you what to do. Calling the animals 2 by 2, so he called them in the ark. 2 by 2, he called the birds, the ox with the kangaroos. Then he called and jump back the ham and sham. Then God began to flood the land. He raised his hands to heaven on high, shook the stars and moon from the sky, shook the mountain, he troubled the sea, hit the wind to his chariot wheel. He stepped on land, stood on the shore, and declared that time there wouldn't be no more. When it's over and over, oh Noah, oh Noah, God's gonna ride on the winning tide.
The thing that really stands out when we listen to the isolated vocals is how much of the groove and the feel is just in their voices, because we're not listening to the guitar here, this is just them singing, but even still you get the groove, you get the feel from their voices. So yeah, it's great that there is so much in here from a rhythmic perspective that's being put in vocally that you almost don't need any accompaniment. And I'd say that, yeah, if they just sang like this, you would automatically be either clicking your fingers or tapping your foot exactly to the groove that they're supplying, because it is so rock solid. I'm just going to have a quick listen to the accompaniment to see how much is in there.
He spoke to Noah, Noah stopped. He said, Noah, I want you to build me an ark. I want you to build a 3 cubit.
Yes, I mean, there's not a lot going on with the guitar. We've kind of got this run, or that kind of thing. And you know, I'm having to jump around a lot here because I am tuned a semitone lower than this is being played. So you know, you have to kind of jump a lot. But that, you know, we've got a little hammer on there, but yeah, there's not a hell of a lot being supplied here instrumentally. It's actually quite low in the mix, so it will fly under the radar because the voices take you to that place, and obviously very much what this performance is all about. But we also get all of the gestures and the things that we associate with rapping nowadays, all of the physical embodiment of the lyrics and the message of the song. So I did say that it'll be a quick video for tonight. It might not have been a quick video. Actually, I tend to lose track of time when I do these videos, but great to have a look back here at the very early days. Not very early days, kind of the first days of rapping, and then what it would turn into, 80 years later, something crazy like that. So anyway, thank you guys for requesting this video for me to take a look at. As always, keep those requests and suggestions coming in the comment section below. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!